Welcome to CEC online lecture. In my previous session, I had talked about the first stage of the selling process, that is prospecting and qualifying. In this session, I shall be talking about the various sources that can be used by the salespeople to generate leads. We also need to understand that there is no one best approach that is going to work in all the situations. Rather, it is very much possible that salespeople have to use a combination strategy in order to generate leads or the possible prospects for their selling exercise. The two basic ways to search for leads are random searching and selective searching. So students, we shall first talk about random searching in detail. As is clear from the name, random searching involves an unplanned and random generation of leads. Now, being unplanned and random in nature, this type of searching often tends to be time consuming and may turn out to be inefficient. The first method that can be used under random searching is door-to-door canvassing, which is also known as making cold calls. In this kind of an approach, generally the salespeople, they knock on many doors and try to discover whether a suspect is a prospect or not. Usually products like cosmetics, cleaning supplies, office supplies, vacuum cleaner are some of the products which often use this kind of approach to figure out their prospects. Because this is time consuming and an unproductive method, this method should generally be used by salespeople only when the other approaches of generating leads are unavailable. Also, in order to generate better results, it would be a good strategy to first of all make a telephone cold call and meet people informally over a breakfast or lunch. In order to maximize the effectiveness of the cold call, it should be kept in mind that the focus of the initial contact should be on developing a rapport with the customers rather than to provide them any sort of an information related to companies, products or services. Now, as I've already stated, because this is a lengthy and a tedious process, this is not a very productive way of generating the leads. But the advantage that you get with this kind of a method is the fact that this is one sure way of knowing the entire territory. So this gives you a complete and a dynamic kind of a sales plan, and this is the reason why salespeople often use this approach to generate the leads. The second method under random searching is the use of advertising or probably the various media forms. We find that advertising is an excellent vehicle of locating the prospective customers by the salespeople. And exposure to various forms of media not only generate good leads but also stimulate people to inquire more about your product or the service. Now, a salesman can use different types of media. He can use print media, including the newspaper or the magazines and journals. He can also use broadcast media involving TV and radio, and also say the internet media that can be used in this way in order to generate the leads. The third method under random searching is emails and websites. Now, we know that some companies, they send unsolicited mails to large number of people. However, such kind of emails often turn off people as they tend to breach their privacy and are considered misleading and deceptive in nature. Many recipients of such kind of emails also block or delete them so as to avoid receiving such kind of unsolicited mails in future. A better alternate approach that can be used by the salespeople can be to encourage people to visit the company's website and leave their contact details for further contact and further action by the salesman. Now, students, we talk about the second broad method of generating lead, which is the selective searching. Now, as against the random searching, this method involves the application of systematic strategies to generate leads from predetermined target markets. This could be done through both direct sources as well as indirect sources. While the direct sources allow leads to be identified by name or they can be approached directly by the salespeople, the indirect sources require leads to identify themselves by responding to a general call. Let us first discuss various methods that come under the direct sources. Now, under the direct sources, the one very popular and most commonly used method is to connect with your friends, relatives, and acquaintances. Now, not only these are the easiest sources of leads, but they are also the people who are generally willing to help you. So technical salespeople and even other business to business salespeople, they find this approach to be highly valuable. The second method that can be adopted under direct sources involve the personal observation. Now, these kind of personal observations can be made during your daily routine and they help you to pick up the leads at times. For instance, you may observe and notice the signs or the billboards with names of potential prospects. You can notice them while you are driving or while you are commuting to your workplace. Due to the different types of and different levels of selling involved, suspects may be hidden or they may have to be searched out, and therefore a salesperson needs to keep his eyes open and develop a sense of awareness while he's finding about the prospects. Now, where the physical personal observation is not possible, the salespeople can keep in touch with their territories through the local newspapers also. The third method, which can be covered under your direct sources, involves the referral program. This is also known by the name an endless chain. Why? Because you make a chain, you link on to people one by one. So what salespeople do under this method, they attempt to get from each person interviewed the names of 2 or 3 of his friends who possess the same needs for the product or the service. Now, a valuable source for leads in this regard is the information which you elicit from recently satisfied and former customers of your company or your brand. Now, they often provide you references that can be used as valuable cold calls. For the customer, the successful conclusion of a sale signals a wise decision, something that he or she finds worth sharing with friends. Now, referrals, they add credence to the entire sales approach. The recommendation of a satisfied customers will tend to make a new prospect seek to gain same satisfaction. Sometimes salespeople send gifts to the customers also to gain their appreciation for the referrals that they provide to the salesman, and also to gain additional references or referrals from the customers in future. Even when the prospects decide not to buy or they decide to discontinue from buying, they can still provide leads to the other potential customers. Another method which is included under the direct sources is the sphere of influence. We know that opinion leader is often used in marketing as a very strong concept. The same concept is being used by the salesman here. So what happens is there are people in salespeople's community who seem to be at the center of activity. Now, these individuals, or say the professionals or group of people from various organizational settings, they are known and in their own disciplines, in their own professions, and what they do and what they say matters to others. So they stand out as opinion leaders. And because their opinion is respected in the salespeople target market, they constitute an important sphere of influence and offer opportunities to salespersons to develop contacts with other potential customers. Another method which has grown in popularity in the recent years is the internet. So with the growth of internet, many salespeople, they have started using their own and even others' websites as the discussion boards, or they also use internet to send the emails and to transmit information on the products that they market. They try to take advantage of this cost effective platform in order to generate the leads and to connect with the possible prospects. Another method which is very handy at times is to figure out or generate leads directly through your junior sales team or sales associates. Now, often these junior sales people, they are non-competing. They are not competing with you, and they can be asked to provide leads of their customers who can then probably turn out to be the likely prospects for the other product lines of the company. Another direct source that can be tapped by the salespeople constitute the company records and the phone books. We often find that such kind of information is available through the company records in the form of warranty cards, or the customer log that the companies maintain. In addition, you can also fall back on the mailing list and the directories like the phone book or the trade association directories or the membership list, which serve as an important and a popular guide to the salesman as a way of prospecting. Another version of this technique is to gain access to the directories published by many small communities that list out the names and the addresses of all the residents. Many also can contain a cross-reference that will provide the salesman with a listing by address and then by name. It is always considered to be one of the very impressive ways to approach someone by name. This adds to a very personal touch to the whole process. So if the salesperson is assigned with a new territory where he is working, such kind of telephone books or yellow pages, for example, provide an instant prospecting. Another direct source is to run the survey, conduct certain kind of surveys. So many companies, they generate the leads by conducting surveys by mail or by telephone or even by personal interviews. Those people who participate and complete the survey, they themselves qualify as prospects for salespeople, and these are the people who can be contacted and who can be called upon later. However, some people may not appreciate this kind of intrusion of their privacy, but in certain cases, sales people may find this kind of a methodology to be quite helpful in nature. Now, students, having read about and having discussed about various direct sources, let us now discuss various indirect sources that can be used by the sales people to generate the leads and to identify the possible prospects. Now, obviously, in case of indirect sources, you need to require the leads to identify themselves by responding to your direct mail or making a contact at a trade show or a professional seminar or entering into some sort of a contest. So the first approach, which is usually used by the sales people, is to send a direct mail. In simple words, it is mailing to a list of suspects, a kind of a proposal or a request to have a salesperson stop in for a meeting. Now, this offers many subtle ways to prospect for new customers, including sales letters, catalogs, invitations, new product mailings, advertising reprints, and even emails. Now, as people resent unsolicited mails that they receive through emails, direct mail usually remains the most reliable way to reach out to people in their homes and offices. Simple mail in white or brown envelopes should be used so as to avoid looking like unwanted junk mail. Another method under indirect source requires the conduct of trade shows or fairs and exhibitions. So display of new product in trade shows and exhibitions can prove to be very effective way of prospecting, as well as determining what could be the possible needs of the prospects. The contact detail of those who attend these shows and these kind of fairs and exhibitions can be noted down for the future contact. It is important to follow up such kind of people in a prompt manner immediately after the conclusion of the trade show or the exhibition, before the prospect becomes cold. Another way, students, the third in line could be where you attend certain professional seminars or the workshops or conferences. So you can attend as many workshops as salespeople, so as to get a chance to circulate and network with the members and the potential customers who are likely to be attending a seminar or a similar kind of a gathering. Now, such events provide a platform to exchange the contact details. So when you are into this kind of a networking, you contact the promising leads and the prospects at a later date. Contests and gifts are also one of the popularly used indirect ways. So people at times enter into various kinds of contests that are held from time to time, or in trade shows, or even they are being advertised about in newspapers. So people who participate in these kinds of contests, they are often interested in a prize or in a gift, and so they may turn out to be good prospects in case they do not win. So companies can attract them by offering them inexpensive free gifts, or some small prizes to visit the company's facility for a product demonstration. Another method which can be used is unsolicited inquiries. Sometimes you get unsolicited telephone calls or letters and emails from people who ask for some information. They usually turn out to be excellent leads, because the inquirers or people who place these kind of calls, they often have qualified themselves or their companies in terms of the need, in terms of their authority, money, or eligibility to buy the product or service. So they are usually a good way to start off. And salespeople, they should promptly require to attend to these unsolicited inquiries, or they should promptly respond to these calls and letters to know further about the possible prospects and their buying intentions. However, there is a flip side also. Some salespeople and their companies, they do not have any mechanism of tracking such kind of inquiries, or they do not generally bother with following them up in future. But if they are followed up properly, they may serve out to be good source of generating leads. Another indirect method that can be adopted by the salespeople is a kind of telemarketing for prospects. So a company can gather leads from making outbound calls, which are made to leads by its telemarketing team, as well as from the inbound toll-free calls which you receive in response to your advertisements and telemarketing efforts. Useful information from the incoming calls, it goes to the company's inquiry center, and students, then the inquiry center mails a questionnaire to each inquirer. Those who return the questionnaires, they then become the prospects that can be called upon by the salespeople. Sometimes this kind of telemarketing generates more leads than the company's sales force can handle at times, and therefore this methodology should not be ignored by the salespeople. Another, and probably the last method that we have in line, constitutes marketing information systems, or your customer relationship management system and your data mining systems, which are maintained by the companies. Usually, students, we find that many industrial companies, they maintain a systematic and continuous system of gathering and analyzing market information that can prove to be quite helpful in the prospecting exercise. Such proactive and continuous computerized marketing information systems that are also known by the name MIS, they are very helpful in developing useful leads well in time. Another noteworthy thing is that students, the use of various customer relationship management systems and the data mining software systems help in identifying the prospects by bringing together diverse information about the customers. Precise and detailed computerized information that the salespeople collect through such systems not only help them in identifying the prospects, but also provide better education about the product, inform them about the sales support system, and therefore usually assist the salespeople in serving the customers in much better manner in comparison to any other methodology. So students, we have seen that there exist lot many diverse form of ways or approaches that can be used by the salespeople in order to connect with their target group. Now, which particular group the salesperson connects with and uses at times depend on many aspects. Like I have told you that it also depends on things like the kind of people that you are dealing with at hand. It also depends at time on the situation. It also depends on the temperament and the kind of the customers you are dealing with. So on in all, there is no one kind of approach that can probably going to give you results, and in most of the situation, the salesman may have to come up with his or her own combination strategy to connect with people. But we find that the successful prospective plan usually hinges on the extent to which you can make an effective combination of the various sources in order to generate leads for your various kind of strategies. Now, students, after having read about and after having discussed about the various ways in which the salespeople can generate the leads, we now come to a very important discussion related to the second stage of the planning process, which is the pre-approach and approach. Now, this is the second stage, or rather we can say that this is a prelude to the second stage where the salesperson is going to finally approach the prospects. Now, this is known as a pre-approach stage, which involves knowing all the information that you are going to gather so as to learn about the prospect and the relevant facts about the prospect, including his needs and the situation at hand. Now, what you need to primarily focus on, students, you need to primarily focus on 4 functions of the pre-approach, which should be made very clear to the salespeople or to the trainees. One, they should know that they have to know about the quality of the lead or the quality of the prospect, and what are the needs of the prospects and whether they have got that ability to buy or not. The pre-approach should also provide you necessary information that will enable the seller to tailor the presentation and align it especially for the prospect in hand. The third aspect that your pre-approach should focus on is the fact that your pre-approach exercise should provide you information that may keep the sales representative from making serious tactical errors during the presentation. So you are working with a strategy where you know that you have aligned everything, even your presentation strategy, according to the needs and according to the temperament of the prospect. And this is a short way of minimizing your error, whatever may arise during the presentation process. A good pre-approach increases the sales representative's confidence, and therefore makes him feel able enough to handle whatever may arise during the sale. Now, if the prospect turns out to, your whole generation of leads process gives you a prospect that tends to be an industrial firm, the sales representative should learn everything about the business. That is, say, its size, the purchasing practices, the location of its plants, the name of its executives, the names of the people who would influence the purchase, and other forms of the related data. The salesman can then also consult some standard sources or acquaintances to learn more about the company. And as I have stated before, then the sales people should set the call's objective, might use those kind of criterion that we had discussed under the acronym NAME to qualify the prospect, gather the information, and then proceed further in the selling process. Another task is to decide on which should be the best approach, which might be probably a personal visit or a phone call or a letter. But before you call on anyone, the representative should also know the correct spelling and pronunciation of the prospect's name, his title in the firm, knowledge about his educational background, experiences in the company, say his age, marital status, probably all such details concerning the person's habits, which would turn out to be useful in aligning your strategy, so that you do not make any mistake and you can align your entire presentation according to the interest of the prospect. So students, in my subsequent session, will be talking about how now, once you have identified the prospect, how now the prospect can be approached. Now, what kind of approach strategy a salesperson can use in order to move in the second stage of the selling process. I'm sure students, after the end of this session, you have got some clarity about how to generate the leads. Thank you so much for your patient listening. Stay safe and stay protected. Thank you.